One of the most well-known minibuses ever was the Volkswagen bus. Introduced in 1950, it was the first post-war modern minibus in the Federal Republic of Germany. But there was bound to be competition. And this new entrant was even more customizable with innovative features that only its manufacturer could create. This is the story of the Mercedes-Benz 0319, the minibus that had all the features of a full-sized bus. Hi, this is Jeffrey. Now, back in 1950, Volkswagen introduced the first modern minibus in the Federal Republic of Germany, and it was called the VW bus. However, the VW bus was mainly meant for the consumer market, and it really was not suitable for municipal transport or heavy-duty shuttle services. So in 1955, Mercedes-Benz introduced the 0319, which was a minibus that was slightly larger than the VW bus, but it was much more versatile and it could be customized for a number of different services. It was manufactured alongside the L319 van, but in this video we are mostly going to take a look at the 0319 minibus. It's a really interesting story, so let's get started in learning about the Mercedes-Benz 0319 minibus. In the Federal Republic of Germany during the 1950s, how does one close the gap between competitor vehicles of smaller-sized buses and the aging Mercedes-Benz 03500? Once again, similar to their 0321H, Daimler-Benz AG would have the answer. While before World War II there were only large trucks and at best some flatbed trucks or closed box vans on car chassis, after the war some manufacturers worked on independent concepts to meet specific needs of their customers. At Mercedes-Benz, the topic of a 1-ton diesel truck or small-sized bus was first put on the agenda in August of 1949 by the then General Director, Dr. Wilhelm Haspel. In the words of Dr. Haspel about this new vehicle,
"We see the possibility of using the diesel engine from the Mercedes 170D automobile to develop a van and mid-sized bus series that would appeal to craftsmen and parcel delivery, as well as municipal, tourist, and charitable organizations with various bodies in both commercial van and bus versions."
And leading the aesthetics was noted Mercedes designer Hermann Ahrens. It was to take almost 2 years before a first prototype was delivered to the test department at Mercedes-Benz under Dr. Fritz Nallinger on July 19, 1951. And according to Mr. Ahrens on the physical design of the bus's body,
"While we borrowed some design cues from the Volkswagen bus, we crafted a design of our own that would make it unique and distinguishable for our own brand."
However, in 1950, Volkswagen introduced its famous Type 2 or T1 minibus. But at a length of 4.28 meters, this was roughly half a meter smaller than the planned Mercedes vehicle, and at most could carry half a dozen less passengers compared to the upcoming bus being tested by Dr. Nallinger. Mercedes did not follow the Volkswagen rear-engined configuration, but the vehicle nevertheless featured a modern cab-over-cabin without a protruding front bonnet. In contrast to the later production vehicle, the prototypes had rigid axles with coil springs and telescopic shock absorbers at the front and rear. However, the findings from the test drives were promptly implemented and led to a complete redesign of the van. For this reason, the planned world premiere had to be postponed from the 1951 IAA or Frankfurt Motor Show to the 1955 show, and there were to be aesthetic changes to the final design. at the IAA in September of 1955, the result of about 6 years of development work was thus presented, which became the O319D as a mid-sized bus for up to 18 passengers plus driver, as well as its twin, the L319D, as a small commercial van. This new class of vehicle with a payload of 1 to 2 tons immediately attracted a lot of attention. Just like the innovative rear-engined O321H coach of 1954, the 319 model series featured a chassis subframe and a body with a welded ladder-type frame as a self-supporting body. Now, let's take a look at some of the basic specifications of the Mercedes-Benz O319 minibus. Number 1, length is 4.82 meters. Number 2, width is 2.1 meters. Number 3, height is 2.35 meters. Number 4, maximum permissible weight is 3,610 kilograms. Number 5, number of seated passengers is 18 for the bus version, 17 for the coach, and 10 for the luxury coach version. Number 6, engine is the OM636 diesel of 43 horsepower or the gasoline M21 of 74 horsepower. In the fall of 1961, the diesel engine was updated to the newer OM621 of 50 horsepower from the 190D passenger car. And finally, number 7, top speed is 80 kilometers per hour. Initially, production of the minibus began in August of 1956 and took place at the Mannheim plant, but this was moved to Dusseldorf after 1961. O319s under license were also built in Tehran, Iran from 1967 to 1986, as well as in the city of the 6th of October in Egypt from 1961 to 1969. Available with either 2 or 3 doors and with the option of panoramic windows, the bus was most popular in 17 and 18 passenger form to maximize transporting capability for businesses needing a reliable shuttle, and were widely used among motels and airlines. In 10-passenger specification, however, the O19 was more like a sumptuous coach. Passengers had much more room, including luggage, and this top-spec O319 offered plenty of light, courtesy of the glazed roofline and a foldable, optional sunroof. A variety of very interesting local transit versions were produced, most notably the O319D Vetter City Bus of 1957 and the Mercedes-Benz O319D Benz City Bus of 1958, although not always successful. There were also O319s used in other European countries besides Germany, such as Sweden, the UK, and Finland, especially with their unique Autocori 3 coach, which boasted large angled windows.
The front end of this bus is very nice.
You still hear people say this when they look at 319 model series vehicles today. After the stringent lines of many pre-war production commercial vehicles, a new shape was developed for the cab-over-engine vehicles of the 1950s, with similarities to the brand's passenger cars. For decades, this face became an ambassador for the Mercedes-Benz brand in everyday situations around the globe. About 15,600 O19 buses were built when production ended in 1968. While perhaps not as famous as its VW contemporary, its mark on the world of smaller buses should not be forgotten. And so there it is, the story of the Mercedes-Benz O319 minibus. Now, even though this bus was not as iconic as the VW bus, it still definitely deserves its rightful place in the history of smaller-sized buses. Now, even though this bus was far fewer in number than the VW bus, it was actually much more innovative, and as you had just seen, it was put to use in ways that the VW bus could not. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this look at the Mercedes-Benz 0319 minibus, and as always, thank you so much for watching, and have a great day. Bye.